So, yeah, that's the end of the set tour, kind of behind the scenes part. I'll probably make a part two, and if I do, it'll be in the same video, so ignore what I'm about to say in that case. But that'll be for the, editing process, all the computer work. But seeing as I'm still in the middle of the filming part, I can't do the editing part yet. I can, but I'm too lazy. I just kind of want to do all the editing at once. Anyway, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. So if this is the end of the video, bye. If not, keep watching and we'll continue right along. Right, so welcome to part 2 of the Goodyear Cup series behind the scenes video. This time we're going to be doing some video editing. Unfortunately, I do not have screen capture software for my PC. I probably could get it to work if I rigged up the same hardware-software combo I use to capture video games, but I just don't feel like it. That's too much work. So here we are. We're gonna do the dollar store version of screen capture, just literally filming a screen. We'll cut out the boring parts, and maybe we'll learn something, and hopefully you'll be entertained. So yeah, this is our cobbled together screen capture. Get used to it. Also, this is kind of awkward for me because my tripod is right in the way of everywhere that I need to be. But here we are. This is the first step in editing my videos. Is I just organize all of my raw pictures into all of these folders. You probably can't read these things right here, but it just consists of pre-race stuff, the first green flag up until the first caution, and then the entire pit stops, everything kind of grouped into categories to make it a little bit easier to animate. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to animate each kind of scene, if you will, and render that into a video. That way I can drop those into another editing file, and it's just going to make things so much easier in the future. So let's start at the beginning, and we will animate the cars kind of firing their engines and rolling off the grid onto the pace laps. So we are going to go to my pre-race version here, and we will find the first frame of actual animation, which is this one, and then we're just going to drop them into Sony Vegas. I've got the home version, I guess, of Sony Vegas. It's what, version 13? Yeah, Movie Studio Platinum 13.0. I like this software the best. It's what I learned to edit videos on way back in 2007, and it's just the most user-friendly to me. It makes the most sense. Anyway, this is it. We're going to drag the first picture and only the first picture here, because right now I've got my settings preset to every picture is 5 seconds long, and that's actually a pretty good buffer for this very first frame. I think they call them handles in the industry or something. But anyway, here's the first frame. Also, you'll notice this, maybe you can't see it with the quality of video here, but this is super duper pixelated. My computer is really, really old and not very powerful at all. I bought it super cheap for like less than $100 on the internet because I just wanted a computer, but that has kind of come to bite me when I'm trying to edit videos, because I have to turn the preview stuff, the preview quality, to pretty low to actually be able to see edits and things like that. Anyway, what we're going to do now is we are going to go to, what is it, options, I think, and preferences, and then up here in the editing tab we're going to find the new still image length. Right now I've got it set to 5 seconds, and now we've got to do some math, and oh boy, I hate math. We're just going to do a little guessing. This is kind of the trial and error part. I think let's try 0.125 as our new still image length. So we'll hit apply there. And now we're just going to highlight everything else, and we'll drop it in here. And let's take a look, see what that looks like.
12 seconds later.
Beautiful. I love it. So now we're just gonna highlight here, go to Project, Make Movie. So I edited out me picking all the settings. But one thing that is important here is I'm going to name this video One Grid Roll-Off. And I'm gonna spell roll-off correctly. But what this is gonna do is I'm gonna save this video and it's gonna go into a special folder for me to find. And then my next animation is going to be the green flag all the way up until the first caution. And I'm going to call that video 2 Green Green Green. So that when I have everything animated, will instead of literally thousands of individual pictures, I'll just have about 10 to 15 video files that are named in order 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I can much more easily drop them into the editing software, and it's going to make things much more easy. 4 minutes and 32 seconds later, we are done rendering 18 seconds worth of footage. So that just goes to show you how underpowered this computer is. But that's pretty much the first half of the process. I'm going to do the rest of it now. You don't have to see me do every single step of animating, but we're going to finish animating. I don't know how much else I'll get done today, but for me it'll be a few days. For you guys it'll be a few seconds, because we'll just cut right to the next step. But let's watch the clip. A fun little trivia fact, if you didn't already know this though, that I included in the animation, is there's a second pace car that picks up the second half of the field for the opening pace laps. And the reason that is done is so that the cars towards the back can also calculate their pit speed. When the pace car goes on the initial pace laps, it's running at pit row speed, but sometimes it can be really difficult for the cars in the back to accurately measure, so they send out a second pace car for the second half of the field. I think that's neat, so I included it.
6 hours later.
Right, so animation's done, which is by far the most boring part of making these videos, so that's good. You can, or you really can't because it's dumb camera angle, you can see we've got, instead of literally thousands of pictures, I didn't count, that's too much math, we only have our nice little video clips ready to be dropped on in. This isn't the real one, but just for demonstration purposes, if my computer will catch up with me. Nope, we've made it angry. Here we go, yeah. So yeah, now they're actually like, you know, real video clips. Anyway, one thing that I wanted to kind of point out that I really glossed over earlier in the video was the frames per second that we're using. So the first one we did was 0.125 seconds per frame, not frames per second, seconds per frame. And really the 3 decimal points there is really unnecessary, because it's taken me until today to realize, and I've been using the software since North Wilkesboro in season 1, but over here, and you can't see it so I'll just have to read it out for you, it actually gives me what all those decimal points equates to. So I shoot, or I don't shoot, I edit, I guess, at 30 frames per second, or 29.9 technically, but whatever. So 0.125 is actually going to give me 4 frames per image, which doesn't make a lot of sense. You kind of got to think about that. So each physical picture that I have taken will go for 4 frames at 30 frames per second. And at race speed, we did 0.1, so that came out to 3 frames. And then under caution, I did 0.16, which came out to 5 frames. So we have that kind of 3 frames per image, 4 frames per image, 5 frames per image, and within that window we get race speed, caution speed, and kind of a medium that helps make up for any shooting errors, I guess, that I had. So hopefully all that math is helpful for any aspiring stop-motion filmmaker. Right, so on to editing.
The next day.
Alright, so we're back. As you can tell, it has been a few days. I just haven't had the chance to start recording the announcing, but that's what we're going to do right now. I've got my PlayStation 4 mic that we've hooked up. You can see it's working on this voice track here, so we're going to go ahead and put this on. And something very important with this software, where we're recording to, is it makes a special folder for all of your voice tracks, and so I've made my own special folder here. That way all of my other media bins don't get cluttered up with just my announcing. Also, again, I've mentioned that this computer is pretty underpowered, so we are going to mute every track that is not what we're going to be using, just to give that computer a little extra boost. Now, what you're about to see is why I'm not actually that great of an announcer. I stumble over myself all the time, usually at least once per lap. And that is the beauty of video editing, is whenever I make a mistake, all I have to do is stop that particular recording, back up to a little bit before that mistake, and then keep going. So here we go, we'll put on the announcer voice and you'll get to see a little bit of me trying to do my thing here. 3 wide, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. gets aggressive early. It's Mr. Excitement 2.0 going to the lead. He's got it down the backstretch. Carl Edwards on the inside of the 78 of Martin Truex Jr. getting... See, there you go. Already made a mistake. Let's listen. 3 wide, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. gets aggressive early. It's Mr. Excitement 2.0 going to the lead. So we're going to back up to that sentence right there. Carl Edwards makes a move for second down the backstretch on the inside of 3. So yeah, that's pretty much how it goes for recording all of the commentating for these videos. I usually have to do this first because, again, underpowered computer, I don't want anything else to be using up any processing power. So after we're done putting in all of the commentary, then we'll put in all the sound effects, which is what really makes these videos pop. Okay, so it is several days later and we have finished recording the announcing portion, and I think previously I said that the next part is putting in all of the race car noises and sound effects, but before we get to that, we're going to go over very quickly the graphics package. Here we've got our kind of scoreboard and the ticker and everything. So we've got a nice little folder here called ticker, and all of these graphics have been made in Microsoft PowerPoint. You just set the background to lime green and then make all the graphics. PowerPoint's nice because you can do real easy shapes and snap them together and everything. It's real nice, real poor man's Photoshop gets the job done. So you do that, we drag them all in here, and I'm going to undo my green screening here just to kind of demonstrate what we got. So when you drag it in, this is what you get, and you click on this little logo that you probably can't even see. You're going to go to Chroma Keyer, hit OK, and then what we would normally do is I would just click on this little color picker, and then click on that color. Oops, and it did click on a color there. And then I'd set the high threshold for whatever reason. I just back that off a little bit. But I have my own little preset here that, whoops, I deleted. So we'll just make our preset again. Okay, and we're back. I've restored that deleted one. Nope, I did not restore it. I'll have to make a new one, but for whatever reason, it's saved my preset. Anyway, there you go. The graphics are done. So yeah, sound design. I find the best place to get good NASCAR sound effects is ripping them straight off of a Crank It Up segment that you can find on YouTube. And so I've gone to the website ytmp3.com, which is a great website if you have a good ad blocker. If you don't, it is littered with just really annoying ads everywhere. But if you've got an ad blocker, it works out fine. You even have an option here to rip the video into an MP4 video or an MP3 sound file. So I've found a Crank It Up from the 2014 Spring Texas race that's got pretty much all of the sounds that I'm gonna need. There's probably gonna be a few extras that I'll have to find, but for the most part, that's gonna get me a lot of the sound effects that I need. All these weird cuts where it's zooming in and out slightly different are really annoying, aren't they? Yeah, I should probably stop doing like a hard cut and everything, but man, I'm just too lazy. The camera's getting low on battery. I don't want to have to get up and get the cord and everything. I'm just recording things and I'm wasting battery right now talking. Anyway, we've downloaded that Crank It Up file. Here it is. We're going to drop it into our SFX, our sound effects file. And then what I'm going to do, as soon as the computer catches up, there we go, is I'm actually just going to crank it all the way to the end here and drop it in, because what I'm going to do now, and we're not going to record this part, is I'm just going to chop up all of these things into kind of individual sound effects so that I can easily copy them, grab them, stack them on top of each other, and actually create our soundscape. So we've got our little sound bits cut up here. It's actually two separate videos, and you can see this one, the waveform is way bigger than this one, so I've had to artificially louden these. But we've got our things, and we have dropped them into where we need to start. Also, we're going to have two different tracks that we're going to use to layer. This is my announcing, and then these two tracks are going to be the sound effects. It's important to have lots of layers here. I think I've got, what is that, 6 or 7? Yeah, 6 tracks. I've got 3 different video tracks and 3 different audio tracks to layer everything with. So what we're going to do is we're going to mute my announcing here, and we're just going to drop this first one in, and instead of actually dragging and dropping, I'm just going to Control-C, Control-V here, copy and paste, so that I've always got kind of these default, this is my color palette of sounds that we're going to drop in. But this little thing right here is my boogity boogity thing, which conveniently comes with a restart sound effect.
Boogity, boogity. Let's go racing, boys!
Kind of fades away there. So we need a sound effect for this shot here. And that's going to be lots of cars coming past, so that's what I've got right here. So what we're going to do is ignore the video part here. We're just going to listen for when the car first comes across the screen in this track. Right about there. And so I'm going to drag this little flag thing here that you may or may not be able to see. And then I'm going to come up to the video, and now we actually are going to pay attention to the video. And we're going to see when the cars come across the camera, right about there. And what we're going to do is we're going to line up our little flag to where we are. And this is the result. And so now we just do that about a million more times and we'll have ourselves a video. And here it is in all its glory, all 15.5 minutes of video. Here is every cut, every edit, all 6 layers you are looking at right here. So just a quick note about sound design, something that you might not think about, but I think is crucially important for creating realistic sound is, earlier we mentioned trying to time the first pass of your car sound effect to match when your cars actually are going across the screen. But I think what is even more important is what I'm going to call a kind of sound negative space. And that is when you don't have cars flashing across the screen, you kind of need to find a good racetrack ambience, so that there's no cars actually going past, but you kind of just hear the general sound of all the engines running. And so we're going to take a quick listen to what that sounds like here. This is my track that's kind of just regular ambience. And then you can kind of hear at the very end there's a car that goes past. But that is super important, I feel like, to actually making some good sound, and that's That looks really nice during the tracking shots and everything. So, we're done pretty much with editing. All that is left now is to set my rendering stuff, set all my settings, and render this video, which will take absolutely forever.
One eternity later.
It's finished. Finally. 3 hours and 46 minutes later, we are done rendering 15 and a half minutes worth of video. Granted, I did render it 1080p, which will take longer, but still. Now you kind of see why it takes me so long to do these things. I love this hobby. It's also kind of a pain in the butt at times, and I get super lazy and I just don't want to do the things. But hooray! It's finished, and it'll be going up on YouTube. Well, for y'all, it'll have been up for quite a while now. I'm not entirely sure when I'm going to release this part. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the finished product. Hope you enjoyed this one. I had fun making it. I hope you had fun watching it. Maybe you learned something. I don't know. But anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you in the next one.